There's no denying, when it comes to classic motorcycles in India, the name Royal Enfield Classic 350 absolutely rules the roost. More recently though, the Classic 350's reign has been challenged by the Italians, the Czechs and the Japanese. Okay fine, that's not entirely accurate, but you know what we mean. The Classic has had to take on the Benelli Imperiale 400, the Jawa and the Honda H'ness CB350. And unlike RE, these three bikes don't forget that modern is an important part of retro modern. But it seems RE has responded in kind with the new Meteor, a replacement for the Thunderbird 350X built on a completely new and critically modern platform. So, while we will have a full-blown comparison, it's interesting to see how the Meteor stacks up against all of its rivals on paper. But before we move on, don't forget to subscribe to ZigWheels and hit the bell icon. Let's start with the engine, and here's what the specs look like. The Jawa is the only bike here using a short-stroke, performance-oriented engine with a 6-speed transmission. Sure, it's fast, but it lacks the retro laid-back charm of an undersquare engine, something we think is crucial for a buyer in this segment. Honda, on the other hand, makes the best of both worlds. It's not only powerful, but also has a 3 Nm torque advantage over its rivals. Not to mention, it's the second lightest bike here after the BS6 Jawa. All here except the Jawa run long-stroke motors with an even spread of torque throughout the rev range. So, they manage just fine with 5-speed gearboxes. While the CB350 and the Meteor sport counterbalanced engines for better refinement, the winner here based on specs alone has to be the CB350 with its neo-retro charm and loads of bottom-end torque. Okay, enough with the specs. What do these numbers actually mean in terms of real-world performance? Now, we haven't written all of them yet, but we do have performance numbers for the Meteor, Classic and Imperiale, which should give you an idea of how much the RE's 350 motor has changed. For instance, the Meteor and Imperiale are almost neck and neck in the runs from 0 to 60 and 0 to 100 kmph. And that's with the Imperiale's 24 kg weight disadvantage. That said, Royal Enfield's new motor puts down its power better during roll-on accelerations, helping it save some crucial seconds over its Chinese Italian rival. The Jawa is undoubtedly the quickest retro motorcycle we have tested, but those figures are for the BS4 bike. We'll have to see how the BS6 Jawa stacks up against its newer competitors. The old UC engine from the Classic is just as frugal as the Meteors. However, the latter can carry 15 liters of fuel, thus giving you an approximate range of 628 kilometers on a full tank. So, if you love touring, the Meteor is the bike to pick. You also require some good brakes to save your skin in case of an emergency. Royal Enfield's market study seemed to suggest that Indian riders prefer to use the rear brake. So, the Meteor gets a larger 270mm rear disc paired with a 300mm front rotor that helps bring it to a dead stop a lot quicker than the Classic and the Imperiale. So what about hardware? What all do you get for all that money? There isn't much that sets these bikes apart in terms of their underpinnings. All of them are running some version of a fairly simple diamond type frame. The suspension setup across all bikes are pretty much the same, with the only difference being suspension tune. All the bikes here, except for the Classic 350, get larger front wheels, but the Jawa's 18-17 wheel combination makes it the most agile bike here. That said, there's very little difference between all these bikes when it comes to their underlying hardware. In terms of dimensions, how different are these bikes? In terms of outright dimensions, the H'ness and the Imperiale are the biggest bikes here, although the Imperiale feels the largest. The Jawa feels distinctly compact and the lightest bike in this company, which might appeal to some people. Surprisingly, both the Jawa and the Meteor offer the same accessible low seat heights. The Meteor though offers a larger 15-liter fuel tank, which will keep you on the road a lot longer, just like the CB350. Having said that, it still weighs in at 191 kgs, which is 10 kgs heavier than the CB350 and a whole 19 kgs heavier than the Jawa. Modern features on a classic motorcycle aren't an absolute must, but we can certainly appreciate it when a company takes the effort to integrate them in. Sure, the DLX Pro variant on the CB350 is the most feature-packed bike here. However, the inclusion of traction control feels a bit gimmicky. On the other hand, the Meteor packs similar connectivity features with a larger digital display that's a lot easier to read at a glance. These features also come as standard across the range, which means you don't have to shell out more money as is the case with the CB350. Moreover, Honda's additional connectivity features such as voice control are redundant unless you have a Bluetooth headset inside your helmet. The Classic, Jawa and Imperiale prefer to stay more old school and don't offer any connected features. When it comes to the spec sheet, there's no denying that the CB350 comes out on top, with the Meteor a close second. But then, the Meteor more or less matches the Honda in terms of its price. So as an overall value proposition, the CB350 seems to make a lot more sense. It's not only powerful, but also packs segment-first features and has its own unique retro charm. But what about real-world performance and usability differences between the H'ness and the Meteor? Well, for that, you'll just have to wait a bit longer. So, stay subscribed to ZigWheels.
24 पैंतीस
इनमें से कुछ भी नहीं बिका सर। क्या सेल करेगा जिमी? 20 साल में कभी ऐसा नहीं देखा है। नो कस्टमर्स, नो सेल।
कार देखो गाड़ी पे होम इंस्पेक्शन बुक करो और कार बेचो ऑफिस, घर या कहीं से भी और पाओ बेस्ट प्राइस, क्विक पेमेंट, फ्री आरसी ट्रांसफर एंड डॉक्यूमेंटेशन। आज से तुम यहाँ पे वेटर नहीं, डिलीवरी बॉय भी। अभी जाओ। कार देखो गाड़ी पे होम इंस्पेक्शन बुक करो और बेस्ट प्राइस पे कार बेचो कहीं से भी। गाड़ी फॉरवर्ड तो इंडिया फॉरवर्ड।